you are still making the progress that you're trying to get you to the point of finishing your dissertation. But what I want you to recognize is that the summertime is not the time to take a break. And on this episode of From ABD to PhD show, we're going to talk about why summer break should not be the time to take a break and how best to take advantage of the summertime. For those of you just tuning in, my name is Dr. Ramon Goings, and I'm founder of Done Dissertation and host of From ABD to PhD show. At Done Dissertation, our goal is to help demystify the dissertation process so that you, the doctoral student, can write and defend your dissertation in 1 year or less. Today's episode of From ABD to PhD show is sponsored by the Done Dissertation Velocity Group Coaching Program. Is the goal with our coaching program that over the next year to help you write and defend your dissertation. So if you're looking forward to hearing more about how you can get involved and get the support that you need to finish, I would invite you to fill out our consultation form to work with us. And you can learn more about it by going to www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan the QR code that is here on your screen. Again, I'm looking forward to this episode because we got to the end of the semester. I know for me as faculty, I'm tired. I'm glad to have a break. And I know you are too. But I want us to talk about how to best take advantage of this break. And so when we are thinking about summer break or even fall break or winter break, excuse me, or if you're on a quarter system, a quarter break, whatever the break that you might have coming up, right? What I want you to recognize is that when you're working on your dissertation and you're only working with your chair during the school year, it actually will put you at a pace that will slow you down from finishing. And what I mean is that we have to think about the time frame that we get to work with our chair. So what I want to do real quick, I want to bring up a calendar, and I want you to kind of see, and I want to talk through what I mean by if we are working only when our chair is working. Let's say if they're on a 9-month contract, that it's actually going to put you on a cadence that's not going to get you to promote, to get you to that point in the process where you're going to be successful. And so I want to pull up a calendar and just kind of walk you through what I mean by this. And so let's take a look at this calendar, right? Again, I'm sorry if I can't zoom in fully, but I want to make sure everybody can see the full, year on the screen, right? And so let's say, for instance, when we think about the calendar, January through December, we got 12 months to make progress on our dissertation. We want to finish it in 1 year or less. Let's break down what things look like. So when we think about January, faculty a lot of times are on some sort of break, most likely. So in January, we may have access to the faculty for maybe half the month. Like at my university, my semester doesn't start back up until usually around like the 29th of January. So we're very late. So these other 3 or 4 weeks, I'm still on break as faculty. So there won't be like dissertation defenses and things happening during that time. And I won't be able to, I won't chat with students until we come back for, the beginning of that semester. So you got to think about it. January, things are happening. Now, what it's going to do is leave you with essentially February, March, and April to make progress with your chair. So that might be you engaging in writing, getting feedback, going back and forth. But when we think about this time from February through March, there might be a week or so in this time frame that maybe your faculty member is at a conference for a week. I know for me, I'm in, my disciplinary field is education. And so a lot of times I will go to the American Association for Research, American Education Research Association conference. And that's usually sometime in April. So that week is probably like a no-go for me because I have sessions and things that I'm doing on various editorial boards, et cetera, that I might be unavailable to a student just for that time frame. So that really leaves you like roughly all of February, all of March, just about all of April. And then we get into May. Now, when we kind of go into May, we have, graduations, end of semester, and things get quite hectic for faculty. And so their attention might be divided. And if you're a student who is someone that, you are currently on the cusp of finishing your dissertation, then as faculty, and sometimes in May, we will jump in and make sure that we get you to the defense. We'll figure out the deadlines for graduation. But if you're someone like on the fence or you're working on your proposal and not quite ready for a defense, sometimes as a faculty, we have to take the priority of those who are getting ready to finish, that we have to get out the door by the end of the semester. So sometimes you can come up against that, and that could impact your timeline. So if we come back to our calendar, we have kind of part of May, maybe the first 2 or 3 weeks in May. Then depending on your faculty member, they may be in a situation where they are on some sort of, 9-month contract where as a faculty, what, they can't work with you after a certain time. So I think at my university, the contract ends like end of May. I try to, if I can, to end then, but sometimes I have a student who's like right on the cusp of finishing. We may have a defense early June, but after that, I'm gone for the summer. So if you're in this situation where you're in a program where the chair is gone for the summer, now what that does is, let's say if you decide I'm going to take a break, that might be June, July, and August. You are doing nothing related to the dissertation. Like, that is not the best use of your time, especially if you don't have access to your chair and you come up on the end of a semester break. Let's say, for instance, the summertime, June, July, and August, that's when you need to start grinding on your work. These are 2 to 3 months where you don't have classes, most likely, right? Every program is different. So some of y'all take classes during the summer, but most likely you may not have classes, and you have uninterrupted time to just focus on your dissertation. So like, I would recommend that you actually work pretty hard during this time. But a lot of folks will say, I'm going to take a break and wait for my faculty member to come back. And that puts you at a disadvantage, because imagine 3 months without looking at your document. Think about where your headspace would be when you came back to it in August, not having looked at it since May. Then when we get into August, a lot of times it's the beginning of the semester. So faculty have various meetings, things might be hectic trying to get onboarded, getting classes started, etc. So August, late August into early September, now you have, what's happening there is that, faculty are doing the various faculty workshops, all these things, classes are starting. It's hectic for like the first 3 weeks. And then things die down around like maybe the second week of September, maybe if like around the 9th or 16th, around there, things die down. Then we have like the rest of September, October, and November to make progress with your chair and your committee, right? To get to a defense of some sort. And then from there, we get to December. And then again, this gets back to similar to a May situation where as a chair of doctoral students, I may have to, focus my attention on getting a student out the door. So it may come to around, late November that a student needs to defend. And so I might have to push them as a priority, where if you're not in that phase quite yet, I may look at your document later than I look at the other person's. It's just how it happens when faculty members have a lot of students that they might be advising. And then also in November, you think take into account like Thanksgiving break. So these things start to impact, this for United States context, of course. And so these things start to impact your timeline. But this is why we just say it's really important that you take this time to really continue working on your writing, because if you really left it up to when your faculty members are on contract and the time frame which is really dedicated to getting you out the door, you probably would only have about 6.5 to 7 months of time to be writing each year. But that's not enough. You have to take advantage of these lulls in the schedules where you can just continue to crank and work on your writing. And so this is particularly around the summer. This is why you can't afford to take time off. Like, let's look at this one more time. You literally right now can take advantage of June, July, and August. 3 months that you have access to. Like, you have to take advantage of this time if you're trying to finish soon. If you're someone and you don't care when you finish, then fine, take a break, but it's going to be a challenge. And so again, on this episode of From AB to PhD Show, we are talking about why the summer break doesn't mean you need to take a break from writing, and some strategies on how to take advantage of the summer break. And so first things first, that's why I wanted to look at the calendar. I wanted to make sure we're all on the same page about the time frame, what things look like, and why you need to be taking advantage of the summertime. And so second is that you have to recognize that when you take a significant break, let's say you stopped working in May when your faculty members were off contract and you came back to your document in August. You have to recognize that when you come back to your document after such a long time frame, you're going to be confused and frustrated when you come back to the document. Because there's something about the writing process and the creation process is that when you're in it and have that flow, it makes things so much easier. But when you have that break in the creation process and you come back to create later, sometimes you can forget what the mind frame was you were in. You can forget just the synergy that you had going. And so you really have to be caution. You have to take caution with this and really continue to work constantly through the summer on your dissertation. It doesn't mean that you don't do your vacations and do those things, but you just have to, continue to take advantage, because it's hard to take that break and coming back to things. And so again, that disconnection happens. And when we see folks get disconnected from their topic, it gets really hard to come back to it. You start to feel like when you sit down to read, like, oh my God, the literature is old and the things, the ideas I had back in May don't apply in August. All these things start to happen. And then those 3 months spiral into another 3 months. And then before you look up, I've been 9 to 12 months and I haven't looked at my document and made any progress. And so those are the things that we don't want to do. We believe in just touching your document regularly because it makes it much more easier to get back in that mindset of finishing your dissertation. And so again, that's another caveat and point I want us to consider as we are thinking through this dissertation process. And for those who are just tuning in on this episode from ABD to PhD show, we are discussing how to take advantage of the summer break and why the summer break doesn't mean a break from writing. And if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, if you can hit the like and subscribe button, that would be so helpful for us because we're trying to build up our YouTube platform. And this is where all of our content will be housed when we do these from ABD to PhD shows. And if you're watching this on LinkedIn or Facebook, make sure you give us a like on those pages as well so we can stay connected and so you have updates as to when our new episodes will drop. And so, lastly, when we think about taking advantage of the summer break and why taking a break doesn't mean taking a break from writing, first thing we talked about how, you have to look at the calendar and really you're going to only have 7 months. Then second, if you take a break, you're going to be disconnected from the work. What's going to happen next? And because you all are high performing people, right? What's going to end up happening is when you take these long breaks from your document, that time is still there. So then it becomes, what are you doing with that time? And because you all are high performers, you will take on something else that will be a time zap for you. For some folks, that might be, oh, I'm not going to work on my dissertation, so I'm going to take on, something with maybe one of the organizations that you volunteer for and be in a leadership role. Maybe you took on an extra something at work since, oh, summer's a little lighter. You're doing all these other things. But being distracted when the dissertation is your main thing doesn't make sense because you want to get to this end of this process. Like the dissertation process ends. There is an end date and end time, and you get to determine how fast or slow that end date comes for you. But trust me, if you just stay distracted doing other things, you won't have the time and you definitely won't have the energy that you need to get to your dissertation. And we just recently had a call with someone who was interested in our program, right? And they were talking about how they wanted to get their dissertation done because initially they were in a practitioner role in their field and they wanted to be able to level up into a leadership role. And they recognized that the only way they were going to be able to make that move was if they had their terminal degree. And so they initially had and went to the doctoral process to get that, degree to make more money at work. But since they've been in the dissertation process, they've been, taking on extra things with work. They transitioned to a new job. All these other things are starting to come in and distract them, where now they've been a year from writing a dissertation and they've been stuck in the same process, kind of twirling around, going in the same circle. But what became interesting during this conversation, when we were talking about the distractions and et cetera, we asked them, they were interested in our program. They reached out to us, filled the consultation form to learn more about our services. And when we talked to them, they said they wanted to finish. And then we started talking about, investing in themselves and investing in the program. And then they were somewhat like dismayed by that. They didn't want to invest. And we were just kind of tallying it up. Like they had been stuck for a year writing the dissertation, not having any progress, not having a system, knowing they don't have a structure and a way to do it. But because they couldn't get past the investment component of it monetarily, but even more monetarily, their time, because we want folks who come into our programs to like really get into it and really move fast. And so we're going to give you the framework and model to move quickly. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to do the work. And sometimes what I've come to learn from this is that when we take on all these distractions, because it's actually easier to take on distractions and be comfortable about where we are and being stuck than doing something differently and making an investment, whether that's investment of time, money, and other types of resources to get done. And we don't want to see folks go through that route. We see what happens. We see eternal ABDs, and we don't want you to be that person. This is literally why I do this show, why I'm recording these episodes every week to give you all insights that will help, one, motivate you, but beyond motivate you, give you the strategy. Because one thing, motivation is cool and all, but I want y'all to have the strategy and thought process to like get through this thing. And so what I want you to do and how to take this last point about distractions is I want you to look at what are you spending your time doing the most right now? Of course, we got work. We have family. This is very important. But outside of that, what else is taking up your time? And are those distractions that you could put to the side for a short period of time to give more time to your dissertation, take an evaluation of that time. It's really important. It's something I really want you to take heed to, because I want you to finish your dissertation within the next year. And so there's no reason why you watching this right now, knowing that I want to finish in a year, that you can't. But it's just a matter of, are you willing to make the sacrifices of your time, resources, etc., to get to that point? And so if you're a doctoral student, you find like, hey, you've tried to put this all together, you're trying to put the pieces together, you're not sure quite where to go, how to do this, we would invite you to work with us in our Velocity Coaching Program. You can learn more about our program if you visit www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan the QR code that you see here on the front of your screen. It'll take you right to our consultation form, where you can complete that form and then schedule a time to talk with our team about getting support that you need to get to the finish line. And so with that, on this episode, I had to just wanted to talk about these strategies about taking advantage of the summer break, because I think it's just so important as you all are trying to make progress. Again, as a recap, take a look at this calendar again. It becomes really important to recognize that really, that if you just waited on your chair to give you time to write, you would be waiting for forever. And you would only have about 5 to 7 months of time to work with them. You have to take advantage, and especially the summer break. Like, as you all are going on break, it's a great time. So again, I'm advocating, I want you all to take advantage of your breaks, go on vacation, do all those things with the family, but give your dissertation the time that it needs. And if you find that you're in a spot where it's just not clicking the way you want it to, we would invite you to work with us in our Velocity Coaching Program, again, which you can learn more about by going to www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan the QR code that is here on your screen. And with that said, I want to thank you all so much for watching this episode of From ABD to PhD Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ramon Goings, founder of Done Dissertation, where we demystify the dissertation process so that doctoral students can write and defend their dissertation in 1 year or less. And before I wrap up, I want to say thank you so much to our partner, HBCU Smart TV. They do stream our episodes from ABD to PhD Show on the HBCU Smart TV platform. They have a lot of other great content related, children's content, etc., and news around HBCUs that I think is really important and valuable. So if you're interested in learning more, you can visit them at hbcusmarttv.com, or you can get their HBCU Smart TV app on any Roku device that you own. So again, I want to say thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. And until next time, let's get those dissertations